Hello friends, welcome back to my gaming channel Neorpo. So let's continue on our gameplay walkthrough of Sherlock Holmes Chapter One. We are on the final case, the sacrificial lamb. So we went to a party and then there was a murder. Were trying to solve the murder and then there was a police raid. The police had arrested us, Mycroft rescued us. Then the police inspector who let us out had a hint that he knows something about Sherlock's mother's death. So when Sherlock asked her for him for the information on his mother's death, so the police inspector negotiated a deal where Sherlock will help the police investigate this case, and in exchange, the inspector will give him info about his mother's death. Okay, so we'll be investigating. These are some evidence left by the police inspector. Let's see what this says. Witness deposition. I, Santos Pinchetti, am witness who reports a suspicion of murder at Mancoy's mansion in Grand Surrey. During preparation of the social party, I heard loud noises from the closed altar room. Immediately I thought of the sacrifice of a living being overviewed by none other than Kurt Mancois. There was blood on the walls, strange symbol, and a dagger in the heart. As soon as I was able to think clearly, I rushed to the police station to report my findings. The station responded to the deposition by sending a patrol, while the witness left the station and went home. Okay. Report number 6260. Following a report from the witness of the satanical ritual who claimed to have found a body, the raid on the Mancois mansion was granted. It resulted in the arrest of multiple suspects and dispersal of the groups in masks and robes caught in the acts of gross indecency and unnatural behavior. The body of the victims was found lying on the altar with a knife wound in his chest. The officers identified the victim, Fabio 20, a local performer and artist. Arrested suspects V. Vogel. V. Vogel has a letter of an insulting nature in his possession which had been written by the victim. He claims to have found the body. He is infamous for his eccentric personality. S. Holmes carried a murder weapon, a dagger with the victim's blood and other items of evidence. He was invited by another suspect, V. Vogel, presumably to obstruct the official investigation. K. Mancois. K. Mancois, the owner of the mansion and organizer of the satanic party, paid the victim to participate in the ritual, had access to the crime scene. Matista, Fabio's partner and participant in the ritual, tried to escape, resisted arrest, owned a book with a description of the ritual performed in the altar room. Some of the guests are temporarily retained for further questioning.
Back on track to solve the case.
Okay, key to interrogation rooms. Cordona police. The provider of this ticket has permission to inspect all evidence on case number 6260. One second. Okay, the Mind Palace thing is blinking. Let's see. There is something else to be found. Pinchetti is a majordomo. As majordomo, Santos Pinchetti has unlimited access to every room in the mansion. Santos Pinchetti informed the police. Santos Pinchetti has revealed the details of the crime scene in his deposition provided to the police. Vogel is held because of the letter. Werner Vogel has been detained because of Fabio's letter found in his pocket. Pinchetti is a suspect. Pinchetti is a suspect who should be arrested and questioned. He had a key which he did not mention in his deposition. Witness deposition report number 6260. Keys to interrogation room. I have obtained keys to the interrogation rooms 5, 6. Evidence ticket. The provider of this ticket has permission to inspect all evidence on case number 6260. Santos is a suspect. Santos has the key to the altar room and could enter the crime scene. He even appears to have been the first person to find the body. That makes him a perfect suspect. I should tell Constable Oswald in the archives to question him as a suspect.
I can't go back to prison.
I think I can't. Okay, I can change my wardrobe. Is this of anything important? I don't think so. This is her, I guess. The I forgot her
Sherlock
name.
Holmes. I'm helping
Matista.
Constable Oswald. You are Matista, Fabio's friend.
This body, yes, it's Matista. But it's a mere shell that will die someday. Just like Fabio.
His end was predictable. Condolences.
Please accept my condolences for your friend.
Thank you.
I'm just here to ask questions and find Fabio's murderer.
It will not bring Fabio back.
Observe. Blood-filled bruises obtained recently. Primitive occult tattoo. Inks herself. Beaten nails. Nervous. 1 second. Yeah, sorry. Old and healing cuts, self-inflicted. Shackle scars, old and barely visible. Burn mark inflicted with a branding iron. Punishes herself for the past, dissociated from her body. Matista, the performer and Fabio's partner, has had a difficult life. She was branded and enslaved while still a child. While enslaving, she met Fabio, hence their similar branding. All scars are result of her slavery during adolescence. She continues to be haunted by these traumatic experiences. She has a genuine interest in mysticism. Since she has tattooed her body with occult symbol, Matista tries to get over her past, and life of performer seems to be an opportunity for her to earn money. Dissociated from her body, Matista seems to be pragmatic about her body of the years of abuse. She sells herself to the guests who do whatever they want to her. She is not afraid to step over the line. Also, Matista marks her body with ink. I think inks herself with self, so I think dissociated from her body would be better. I am not sure though. Actually, it might not be true. Maybe she punishes herself for her past because, like, I doubt that all those inflicts are done by people. This is this one. Old and healing cuts. Self-inflicted. She inflicted cuts on herself. So why you dissociate from her body would be right. Like if she inflicted cuts, that means she punishes herself for her past. Right.
Fabio and yourself were slaves, am I correct? You have a similar branding on your body.
Yes. It was a long time ago.
Couldn't help but also notice fresh cuts upon your forearms.
The cuts helped me to forget my past, to cover the old wounds and hide them.
How did you escape?
Something happened. One night the master fell down the stairs. I made him fall, and he died. We ran away that day. We managed to get on a ship and traveled here, to Cordona. Fabio and I started a new life here. It was very hard at first, but it became better with time. Until today.
Where did you get those bruises?
The bruises on your neck are not self-inflicted. Someone else made them.
Some guests can't contain themselves. They even bite, sometimes. I know
Okay.
I can handle the news.
Good day, Mr. Manchios. I am Constable Oswald's partner in this investigation.
Be quick and gentle. Some of your colleagues are untrained boors. Although I don't mind meeting young officers, the new blood here.
If you cooperate in finding Fabio's murderer, there will be no need to meet with the Boers again.
That voice. Werner's friend? You're the policeman. What a disappointment.
Only an undercover agent can scour a ditch full of deviants. I am a consulting detective, although I'm capable of replacing the entire department through my consultation.
Sharp-tongued, I like it. May I presume this tongue will get us out of this trouble? I would be so indebted and glad to repay you.
Nothing's changed. I'm looking for the murderer. That's the only way to get us out of trouble.
But it shouldn't take much time, correct? We're all busy, after all.
I need to examine you first.
Observe. Rogue wears makeup. Red spots, rash from exposure to hair dye. Soap under fingernails, washed hands in a hurry. Quality polished leather, lavishly expensive. Kurt Mankiewicz is an extremely rich, eccentric, and frivolous. He is the organizer of the parties of Cordona's elite and the owner of the Mankiewicz mansion. He spends his life in the company of similarly overprivileged people. However, Mr. Mankiewicz wishes to hide his true age from the younger participants of his parties. He is concerned with aging to the point where he uses makeup and hair dye to look younger. This one says, however, his being sociable in this manner has made him cautious regarding his health. He uses chemicals and hair dye to clean and improve himself in the extent that it damages his skin. I think it hides his age maybe, because like makeups are used for that only, like not for cleanliness, right? Let's do that. Hides his age.
You are a little over the top with your use of makeup, Mr. Manchios. Is it so difficult for you to acknowledge your age?
Well, Sherlock, that's easy for you to say to an old man when you look as though you are barely 15.
But still, it shouldn't be an issue for someone of your state.
For people of my age, it isn't an issue, no. But the younger ones can be so afraid of wrinkles and grey flecks. I have to adapt.
Such a methodical man who cares for his body but misses the soap under his fingernails. Are you so impatient, or perhaps even impulsive?
I wouldn't call myself that. Silly little detail. If I missed it, it wasn't important. Or rather, it was less important than who or what I was focused on.
Provide evidence. Card Manco's profile.
I've no idea about that.
Card Manco's.
You'd better ask someone else.
Matista's profile.
You'd better ask someone else.
Matista.
That's not something I know much about.
Santos is a suspect.
That's not something I know much about.
Police investigation.
That's not something I know much about.
Evidence ticket.
I've no idea about that.
Keys to interrogation room.
That's not something I know much about.
Report number 6260.
I've no idea about that.
Witness deposition.
Do you have any idea who tipped off the police to raid your mansion, Mr. Man?
Of course. It was you. I could even say you Sherlocked me in here.
A good guess, but the wrong one. The fellow who did that was Mr. Pinchetti, your major domo.
What? Santos? But how could he even know? If he's not the murderer himself. The ungrateful swine. He has dared to besmirch my reputation.
Not a very eloquent choice of words.
What should I call him then, since he's a snitch? Make him talk, Sherlock. I'm quite certain he knows more about the murder than he has told the police.
Okay. Imprison Vogel.
You'd better ask someone else.
Vogel's testimony.
I've no idea about that.
Murderer's key.
That's not something I know much about.
Fabio's murder.
I've no idea about that.
Smoking lunch.
You'd better ask someone else.
Gifted cufflinks.
You bought an expensive pair of cufflinks for Fabio. Were they his price? Or were they a tip for an exclusive...
It was pure business. Fabio escorted me a few times. I was merely showing my gratitude.
This pair cost a small fortune. You must be extremely grateful then. Tell me more.
You've thrust a knife in an exposed nerve, Sherlock. Yes, he was my protege and my beacon also. With my experience and his beauty, we could have achieved anything. I had faith in him. I would have made him.
I'd like to know more about the event.
Mr. Vogel told me a little about your parties, but I would like to know more directly from you.
I'm all yours, Sherlock. You have me arrested and locked here with you alone.
Why did you invite Vogel?
Why did you invite Mr. Vogel as your special guest?
He's a pretty fellow. He's capable of surprising the public. He has a talent for saying words that no one else would wish to either say or hear.
I suppose I can't argue with that.
He is a free addition to the eccentricity of the party, which is fine by me, as long as it enhances my party.
Whom do you invite?
I'd like to know who you usually invite to your parties.
Free minds who are able to leave reality for an evening, who can taste forbidden fruit without prejudice. There is nothing that quite spices up life like these parties, assuming one is old enough and has worked many years for the good of one's country.
Oh, all true laborers, I see.
What was Fabio like?
What was Fabio like? His personality, his habits? Anything you can tell me?
He was the brightest star of my parties. Young, magnetic, and full of energy. I don't even want to mention his beauty. Otherwise, I'll be sobbing.
An expensive champion, I imagine.
His performances were flawless. He deserved his payment. Do you think he was murdered because of money?
Possibly. What about the other guests? Were they used to opening their wallets as well?
I wouldn't restrict my guests from anything. I'm sure Fabio received a few coins from others for his services.
Okay.
I can't wrap my head around such a tragedy at my party.
Here's Vogel.
Werner, are you all right?
Oh, yes. Everything's fine. In fact, it's something of a family reunion. My brother spent quite some time in this place himself.
You should not be here. I told the police everything I knew, but they refused to let you go. They require proof to free you.
Ha! What did you expect? The mighty Sherlock Holmes swans in, tells the officers what to think, and the world obeys?
Of course not. Anyway, I struck a deal with the constable, and I've got a free hand in the investigation. I find proof to solve the case for him. He obtains files about my mother's death.
Well done. If one has the power or will and can act, then one must. I wonder, suppose you couldn't get the proof to your truth. Would you tell a lie to the guard that enabled my freedom, knowing my innocence? Would that not be just?
I don't lie for you.
There are lines I will not cross, Werner. I will do my best to secure your release, but with proof, not deception.
Really? How many white lies have you told on this island? Why not for me? Why not another?
That is absurd. I can resolve this without compromises. Do not give up hope.
Provide evidence. Kurt Mancois's profile.
I'm not supposed to know anything about this.
Gifted cufflinks.
I'm not supposed to know anything about this.
Kurt
I don't
Mancois.
think I can tell you anything about this.
Matista's
I
profile.
can't follow you here.
Evidence ticket.
I can't follow you here.
Police
I'm not
investigation.
supposed to know anything about this.
Santos is a
I
suspect.
don't think I can tell you anything about this. I
Matista.
don't think I can tell you anything about this.
Keys to interrogation
I don't
rooms.
think I can tell you anything about this.
Report number
I'm
6260.
not supposed to know anything about this.
Witness deposition.
I have learned who told the police about the crime. It was Santos Pinchetti,
Do I know him?
the major domo of the manor. He cleans up after you.
Well, then he does his job perfectly. All but invisible. I couldn't tell you the first thing about him.
Okay.
I can't wrap my head around such a tragedy at my party.
I know I can handle the news.
This area is restricted.
Don't look at them. They'll serve us if necessary.
Can I ask you a question?
Excuse me? What? I'm not sure I know.
Okay. Archive. Provide evidence. Imprison
I
Vogel.
don't think I can tell you anything about this.
Kurt Mancois's profile.
I've nothing to say about this.
Gifted
You'd
cufflinks.
better ask me a question I know how to answer.
Kurt
You'd
Mancois.
better ask me a question I know how to answer.
Police
I don't
investigation.
think I can tell you anything about this.
Santos is a suspect.
Have you considered Mr. Santos Pinchetti as a suspect?
The snitch? Have you seen him? I mean, my breath could knock him down. What's so special about him?
As a major domo, he has keys that open all the rooms, including the one to the crime scene. Could have testified only to circumvent suspicion, don't you think? We need to question him.
Right. I'll send our men to fetch him. Stay here. They brought him in, Mr. Holmes. Here's the key to interrogation room number 7. Mr. Pinchetti didn't even resist, our men said.
Thank you.
You can question Mr. Pinchetti in the interrogation room.
So he is in interrogation room number 7. This is 7.
I recognize the key from the altar room among these.
Kurt Mancois's will and note. A small note attached to the will says, Santos, my hopeful slug, you begged me to include you in my will, so I did. Here's my latest revision of the will. Kurt. The text of the will under the note. Santos Pincodi, the majordomo of the Mancois mansion, receives a jar of mustache wax and a salt lump that he might always remember his caring employee, Kurt Mancois.
Mr. Pinchetti, a pleasure to meet you. I'm Sherlock Holmes. I'm helping Constable Oswald.
I've already told him everything I know. I'm only a witness, sir. Everything's in my report.
And I've read it. You forgot to mention that you hold the keys to the room where Fabio was found. I need only to find if the crime was intentional.
But I need to return to my duties.
I doubt the house will fall without you, Mr. Pinchetti. Just be still for a few seconds.
Observe. Inflamed skin, psoriasis or allergy, patched holes repaired multiple times, dyed textile colored more than once, blood splatter stepped in blood. Santos Pincotti is the head servant of the Mancois mansion. Despite being employed at the highest position within the household, he appears to be poor. His body shows symptoms of psoriasis. Mr. Pincotti hides his damaged skin under layers of makeup. The majordomo suit had multiple holes that has patched or sewn. To renovate the suit's look, Mr. Pincotti has dyed it. Terrible miser. Despite having enough money, Mr. Pincotti spends as little of it as possible. Cheap makeup hides imperfection on the body. In an attempt to look more modern, Mr. Pincotti has dyed his suit on several occasions. To save even more money, the majordomo appears to have personally repaired multiple holes in the suit. I think he has financial difficulties because, as you see that note, that will. From that, it is evident that he does not pay him enough. If you see that will, the Mr. Mancois, he asked him to include in his will, and he said, "I'll give you a mustache and some stuffs." So he is not paying him a single money, means hardly paying him, that is. So I think he has financial difficulties.
You are the majordomo of a rich mansion, and you seem barely able to afford decent clothing. You hide under heavy makeup a skin disease that might be treated with more onerous but less harmful means. Do you have money troubles?
Do not have a lot of means. The pay is below what you might expect.
But you could easily change your job if your employer does not meet your elementary needs.
One can change his employer, that is true.
And the blood on your shoe, where does that come from?
I don't actually know. Perhaps from a guest?
Provide evidence. Santos Pincotti's profile.
I can't help you.
Santos
I
Pincotti.
can't help you.
Cart Mancois's will and note.
Mr. Manchios says that you begged him to be included in the heritage. Isn't that a little extreme, even for a majordomo?
He's not only my employer, he's my uncle. And I'm his next of kin. The only one. Mr. Manchios flatly refuses to pay a family member. All I have to do is repay his so-called love, cleaning up the filth after perverts and decadents. He's imprisoned me. The best I can hope for is a new broom. That's why I wanted to have my part of the inheritance.
Is it that bad? You have a roof above your head, a salary, and the status of a majordomo.
For God's sake. I'm forced to dye and stitch my threadbare clothes, and the holes in my shoes are painful. I'm ashamed every time a guest looks at me closely.
Why do you think your uncle treats you this way?
My mother, my uncle's sister, had me illegitimately. She died, and I was given the surname of one of the maids.
But you are entitled to some of the money that belongs to your family.
He thinks not. I was not responsible for my mother's death. I work hard, and he pays me nothing. I feed on the leftovers. While he wastes our estate's property on decadent parties, he paid Fabio handsomely and showered him with expensive gifts for their disgusting relationship.
Did you know the victim?
Did you know Fabio?
Not personally. He was a frequent guest, and cleaning the mess after his performances was tedious. Mr. Manchios always had a role for him, and mainly the leading one. The parties were always Fabio-centric?
And Matista? Was she as popular as her
Don't tell her I said this, but I do not think so. Mr. Manchios hired her only because Fabio refused to work without her. Mr. Manchios used to see her as a worker. She was tasked with entertaining the guests, unlike Fabio, who could pick and choose.
Okay.
Please let me out.
I know you can untangle this mess.
What a bunch of losers.
I know I can handle the news.
Provide evidence. Santos Fincate's profile.
I've no idea about that.
Santos Fincaite.
I've no idea about that.
Kurt Mancois's will and note.
I've read the letter about his will. A harsh method of ridiculing Santos. I doubt he will use mustache wax when he wears no mustache to begin.
Where did you get it? Is the slug here? Tell him I shouldn't have to provide for him. He's a grown man who shouldn't sit on his uncle's neck. He conceives himself as my only heir.
And who is he to you?
He's a leech on my aging body. He has only added problems to my life since the death of his mother.
I fail to see why you made him your major domo.
He needed to know his place, so I taught him.
Okay.
Please let me out.
He has nothing to say in regard of this.
Continue our investigation while I look for the papers.
Okay, let's see what we learned so far. Santos is a suspect. Santos was arrested and placed in interrogation room 7 along with his confiscated belongings. Matista's profile. Matista is a former slave and has a past history together with Fabio. Kurt Mancois. Gifted cufflinks. Mr. Mancois says he gifted the couplings because he wanted to express his gratitude to Fabio. Kurt Mancois' profile. He is extremely rich, eccentric, and controlling. He gave expensive gifts to Fabio. Imprisoned Vogel. I asked Vogel about Santos Pincotti, but he has no idea of who the man is. Kurt Mancois' will and note. Santos Pincoti's profile. Santos Pincotti is a majordomo at the Mancois household. He has a key to the altar room. Despite being a majordomo, he appears to be poor. Mr. Pincotti wants to inherit Mancois' property. He believes that his uncle, Mr. Mancois, does not appreciate his effort and dedication. All evidence on case number 6260.
Continue our investigation while I look for the papers.
Who should I talk to about this?
Would you like to report a crime?
Okay, evidence room here.
Good day. Your ticket, please, if you want me to help you.
Provide evidence. I'll just have to give him the ticket.
I'd like to check the evidence from this case.
And who are you?
Oswald sent me. I'm a consulting detective.
His partner, then? Let me see. Ah, a ritual murder. What a bunch of degenerates. Wait a second. I'll bring it to the table.
Okay, we have 9.
An emergency kit for boredom.
Letter from Fabio. The letter was in the that was found in Vogel's evidence box. Is your mind unsound? You can't control your bitterness, not around me anyway. For me, it's too great a risk to ignore that kind of behavior. I can speak and play with anyone I choose. I am not another Matista. You pay me, but you haven't bought me. Of course, I will. Hmm. You pay me, but you haven't bought me. Of course, I will keep all your generous donations, even though they hardly compensate for your last terrible outburst. I am leaving you, although Matista will still be around. Fabio.
Not the time for privacy. Werner's personal sketchbook.
Okay.
It's a miracle this ruby hasn't tempted anyone. A heavily perfumed handkerchief with the initials KM in the corner. All the keys of the mansion on one golden ring. A handcrafted charm that contains hair and nail clippings. Her key to the altar room.
The power of love, blood, and mandrake.
That's not for bedtime reading. This ex libris belongs to Manchios Library.
The power of love, blood, and mandrake. The police found this occult book in Matista's bag during the arrest. According to the ex libris, the tomb was taken from Mr. Mancois's collection. It contains illustrations and descriptions of a ritual similar to the crime scene. Prepare the naked body of a recently deceased object of interest. Draw symbols of Mars and Venus to enhance the power you possess, to use the force of male and female nature. Pierce his heart with a golden dagger to be rid of the blood that does not love you. Draw a symbol representing your love. While waiting for the resurrection, recite the charm.
The book describes a ritual similar to the one performed in the altar room. Thank you, officer.
So our mind place is blinking. We have to go there. Sacrificial lamb. Matista has fresh bruises. Matista was bruised recently. Matista's activity at the party. Matista claims that she suffered bruises from the guests during her interaction with them at the party. Kurt Mancois is scrupulously clean. Kurt Mancois's hands have been recently washed with traces of soap beneath his fingernails. Mancois washed himself after the murder. Kurt Mancois cleaned himself of blood after Fabio's murder. Kurt Mancois has a washing routine. Kurt Mancois says he follows his cleaning routine in a hurry. He was following his cleaning routine in a hurry. Kurt Mancois had feelings for Fabio. Kurt Mancois confessed that he has sentiments for Fabio. Blood on Pincoti's shoes. A blood splatter was found on the side of Santos Pincoti's shoe. Pincoti missed the blood splatter. Santos Pincoti failed to notice a blood stain on the side of his shoe while cleaning himself after the murder. Fabio bruised Matista. During the fight in the smoking lodge, Fabio bruised Matista. Pincotti is the majordomo. Mancois mocked Pincotti. Kurt Mancois humiliated his only nephew by leaving him almost nothing and taunted him constantly. Santos Pincoti's efforts in vain. Pincoti has been forced to work for Kurt Mancois in the desperate hope of obtaining heritage, but it hasn't paid off. Santos Pincotti informed the police. Pincotti missed the blood splatter, or Pincotti accidentally stepped in blood. Angry letter from Fabio. In the letter, Fabio mentions numerous gifts he kept as the price of his nerve. The power of love. Manchester's book describes the supposed love ritual, stabbing someone and drawing symbol of Mars and Venus in blood. This one has nothing to match with. Fabio bruised my sister. My sister was bruised by the guests. Mancois set himself up for debauchery. Kurt Mancois carefully prepared himself for the depravity. The letter may have been for Mancois. According to Santos Pincotti and the content of the letter, it may have been addressed to Kurt Mancois. The power of love from Fabio. The letter found in Vogel's pocket may have been addressed to Kurt Mancois. Santos mentioned Mancois gifting strange and expensive gifts to Fabio. In the letter, Fabio mentions gifts he would keep due to someone's temperament. Since Fabio wrote this angry letter to Mancois. Matistas provides there is a strange occult charm in her possession. Let's talk to Fabio first.
Please let me out.
Fabio won't say anything, I guess. Provide evidence. I think this one.
This book, The Power of Love, Blood, and Mandrake, what do you hope to achieve?
To learn more about the invisible strengths that govern us. Occultism is real. The master who fell that night when Fabio and I escaped. I made him fall. I cast a spell on him and it worked.
Or was it a coincidence?
The universe is rarely so lazy.
If you say so.
Okay. Letter from Fabio.
Could Fabio have written this letter to Kurt Manchios?
Oh. That could be. I never thought Mr. Manchios could make Fabio that angry, though.
What do you mean?
Well, Fabio wanted to disassociate from Mr. Manchios. Clients who are in love are both a blessing and a curse.
But Fabio was here tonight.
Money. In our line of work, we can't afford to turn down clients who pay as well as Kurt Manchios.
Was Fabio afraid of Mr. Manchios?
Not at all. The old toad wouldn't dare to do more than sweet talk and touching. Talk can be forgotten, and touching washed away.
You practice
Do you
occultism.
practice occult rituals?
For protection? For fortune? To wash away the ugliness of the world? Sometimes to survive. I have the gift, and I'm learning to use it better.
Did you use your gift on Fabio?
I only used white magic. Love charms lately. Fabio became so distant. I just wanted him to be with me. but I suppose I'm not as skilled as I thought.
Okay. Provide evidence. Letter from Fabio.
There is undeniable evidence that you were the original recipient of this letter.
What are you talking about? Is it addressed to me?
Your protege wanted a fresh start, it seems. This is sufficient to charge you.
Me? Hurt my star? Are you insane that you would accuse me of such a thing?
He did not consider himself as yours. Since you deny everything, let's move on. Do you have any idea as to how the letter could have ended up in Mr. Vogel's pocket?
You were the detective. Perhaps he took it from Fabio. Werner was a little high.
The power of love, blood, and mandrake. Marista claims she uses occultism on various purposes. She used some white magic on Fabio.
Do you recognize this book? Could Matista have borrowed it from your life?
She didn't ask me. How ungrateful.
The things described in the book were inspiration for the rituals you performed?
Do you really believe that blood, symbols, and incantations can resurrect the dead? They are just eerie tales with a mix of occultism and voodoo. My rituals are a stage to show some of the forbidden pleasures.
Okay. The power of love, blood, and mandrake.
I'm not supposed to know anything about this.
Letter from Fabio.
I have reason to believe that the intended recipient of the incriminating letter may have been Kurt Manchos.
Well, that makes sense. Too bad I can't remember how I came to possess it. Though I did spend quite some time with Mr. Manchios during the party.
Unfortunately, even with an answer, that may still not be enough to clear you with the police. But fear not, I will persevere.
I hope your attempt to put things straight will make up for...
You being on a bender?
touché.
Mind Palace. We have more stuff to do. Fabio was burning bridges with Manchios. According to Matista, Fabio tried to break all connections with Card Manchios. Matista trusted in the occult over Fabio. Matista believed in the occult and his power to keep Fabio close to her. Either Vogel or Manchios is lying. Card Manchios claims Werner Vogel took the letter, but Vogel does not remember doing so. Vogel took the letter under influence. Werner Vogel took the letter himself when under the effect of various substances. Manchios planted it. Card Manchios slipped the letter in Werner Vogel's pockets to make him look like a suspect. Fabio broke Card Manchios' heart. Fabio shattered Card Manchios' feelings. This would say Card Manchios is the murderer. For years, Fabio played with Card Manchios' heart, abused his interest in the young performer. When Manchios received yet another rejection, he murdered Fabio and staged the love ritual to avoid suspicion. Crime of passion. Card Manchios was heartbroken and panicked and did not mean to kill Fabio. The improvised ritual was a desperate attempt to cover up the crime. A prison sentence should be enough for his harsher punishment is the death of his love. A sexual predator. Card Manchios killed Fabio in cold blood. He staged the crime as a ritual to blame Matista. He planted the letter in Vogel's pocket to avoid suspicion. Manchios has no consideration for the life of others and deserves to be hanged. Matista may have used the ritual on Fabio. Matista may have performed the ritual on Fabio to bring his love back. Okay, so this blames Kurt. And this will blame Matista. Matista is the murderer. Matista was afraid of Fabio's growing popularity and ambitions. She wanted to keep him with her for as long as possible. In a last-ditch effort, Matista conducted a love ritual during which she killed Fabio. A crushed soul, Matista is the product of a tormented life. She knows no difference between good and evil. She wanted her love, Fabio, to stay with her always. Matista deserves help. She needs to be treated and have a chance to get over her past in an asylum. An occult murderer, Matista used occultism as a way to avenge her miserable life. She stabbed Fabio to keep him close to her. She should be held accountable for her deeds. Any judge would give her a death sentence without hesitation. And this will put the attempt on Pincotti. Santos Pincotti is the murderer. Pincotti has worked for his uncle for years in the deep hope of obtaining his heritage. Manchios's hostility and humiliations pushed Pincotti to kill Fabio and frame his uncle. Manchios's imprisonment would make Pincotti the only lawful heir. Correct the injustice. The only way for Santos Pincotti to right his wrongs was to be rid of the monstrous uncle. Pincotti should be punished for the crime of murder, but he has suffered enough and deserves a fresh start after a prison sentence. It was called revenge. Santos Pincotti snapped. After years of disrespect, Pincotti devised a plan to be rid of his uncle. However, misery and despair cannot justify murder. Pincotti is dangerous, and a noose around his neck is all he deserves. Now it's time to make the choice. Let's go by the casebook first. Matista's profile. Matista has an occult book in her possession with a description of the ritual that is similar to the crime scene. She mentions the use of white magic to bring back Fabio. The power of love, blood and mandrake. Judging by Card Manquis's reaction, he hasn't permitted Matista to take it. Matista claims she used occultism for various purposes. She used some white magic on Fabio. Letter from Fabio. The letter found in Vogel's pocket may have been addressed to Cord Manquis. Santos mentioned Manquis gifting strange and expensive gifts to Fabio. In the letter, Fabio mentions gifts he would keep due to someone's temperament. It seems Fabio wrote this angry letter to Manquis. Vogel thinks it is possible it was addressed to Manquis. He is unable to explain how it came to be inside his pocket. Matista agreed that it may have been addressed to Manquis. Fabio wanted to break all connections with Mr. Manquis, but was unable to for financial reasons. Manquis denies any connections with the letters and claims that Vogel took it from Fabio. Card Manquis's profile. He may have been the recipient of an angry letter from Fabio. Okay, let's first save this. Okay, now to make a decision. Now, I doubt that Santos is the guilty person. It's either Carl Manchios or that girl, Matista. The thing is, this game does not give us any proper indication of who is the murderer, except for the very first case. I believe this is Manko's, because how else would he get the letter? Like, he wanted to leave him, that's why he has murdered him. I believe so. Should I choose this? That's the question. I think it is Manko's. Less crime of passion. Obviously not. Heartbroken and did not mean a sexual predator. He is one actually. Sorry Manko's, but you did the murder. And he is also a bad, means he is the worst of this person. These other persons are still good.
The murder of Fabio did not have a ritual purpose, Mr. Manchios. It was staged by a man who wished to distract the investigation.
That might be true. That poor girl Matista wouldn't dare to kill the only man who cared for her. So, Santos.
Mr. Pinchetti snatched at the chance to solve his problem.
Ungrateful little scum. Will he be executed?
But what for? He informed the police as to the crime, that was all. He couldn't stage the ritual, but he found the body, I believe.
I can't believe it. Why did Werner do it?
Mr. Vogel. He had no reason, and he won't be a scapegoat as you plan. You put Fabio's letter in his pocket when he was intoxicated, didn't you?
You can't be serious.
Your fingernails.
You can very often deduce someone's life by their shoes or their fingernails. You are a meticulous person, but this murder was fairly traumatic and filthy. After you stabbed Fabio, you were covered in blood. You panicked and neglected to rinse the soap from under your fingernails. The devil is in the details, Mr. Manchios.
Nonsense. I missed it simply because of the busy schedule of the party.
Of course, a staged murder was certainly not planned.
Love wasn't mutual.
You're at the twilight of your life. You have no partner, you have no children. You had feelings, however, for one man. That was Fabio. You loved him. That is, you wished to own him with money and gifts. But he was also a free mind, was he not? He turned his back on you. Quite unjust. Love, so cruel and painful, and Fabio, with his words and deeds, made you feel the more wretched. So you killed him.
You must surely perceive that my sensitive nature wouldn't allow me to hurt anyone.
You staged the ritual.
You staged the murder as a satanic ritual. It was easy for you, since you were the one who wrote the scenarios for the parties. It was your way of avoiding suspicion. A respectable man in his 60s,
Early 60s.
who hosts the cream of Cordona society, cannot possibly be a murderer. But the guests who behave like animals in his mansion, Of course, one of them could have killed Fabio.
I did oversee a few of the rituals, but I did not stage Fabio's death.
It was a premeditated murder.
The young performer played with your emotions. That was painful to realize. You spent so much time and effort to be with Fabio, but he didn't respond in the way you would have liked. You wanted to be loved. But Fabio shattered your dreams. In the smoking lounge, he teased and mocked you. He wanted you to suffer by offering himself to others. The deception was unbearable. You struck him, and then you staged the ritual. You planted the letter in Vogel's pocket and attempted to set up Matista.
What poppycock? Sherlock, stop this game now.
There is no stop word, Mr. Manchios. Relax and enjoy it. I'll pass the remainder of this case to Constable Oswald. He'll know what to do with you.
I can't believe you dared to accuse me.
Okay, let's go to Oswald.
I have a name for you. Kurt Manchios.
Is that so? The master of the Sabbath?
The man himself. Mr. Manchios couldn't stand to lose control over his lover. A deadly revenge that deserves a proper sentence. I have all the evidence to charge him.
A degenerate and a murderer. I'll make a name thanks to that for sure. As for my part, not everything was in place. Perhaps some documents were transferred somewhere else, but I couldn't find a trace of them. Then I remembered. The discarded document drawers where we put the lost papers or the badly labelled ones. Including the crime scene report of Violet Holmes's case. Everything I've found is on the desk here. Take it.
Your persistence has saved me.
Yeah, well, we had a deal after all. Your friend is free then. You can leave.
Good luck, Constable.
And now we have only one thing, a mother's love. Oswald's finding. Oswald found a copy of the missing report of her mother's death. He left it on the table in the police archives. Let's make a different save. No, where is it? On the table in the police archives. There it is. Report number 743. Report number 743. Officers arrived to find the deceased, identified as Mrs. Violet Holmes, lying in the garden of Stonewood Manor. Visual inspection showed the victim to be thoroughly soaked with a deep vertical incision, 2 inches in length down her throat. Her face was swollen and covered in red blotches, likely cause of death hypoxia. Awaiting confirmation from medical examiner, main suspect Otto Richter was arrested at the scene. The body was sent for autopsy.
Garden. There's a garden behind our manor. How could I forget? That's where it all happened, where it all went wrong.
Sherry? Oh, you did it, Sherlock! The case is closed and all rewards belong to the winner. Bravo!
It is merely the triumph of the truth.
Is it? No compromises? No lies? You're happy with your decisions?
An acceptable outcome.
It was the best decision I could obtain. The truth must be told in the way it is most acceptable.
You're making progress, Sherlock. I was right to believe in you. By the way, did you get that precious information about your mother? Oh, not that you must.
Yes, I did.
Forgive my intrusion in such a personal matter. I simply worry I'm failing to be of much help to you.
Actually, you were. For some reason, all the archives on the case had disappeared. This was a rare opportunity to obtain the impossible.
Outrageous. Perhaps someone found the truth unpleasant. Society usually rejects those who speak with too much honesty, doesn't it?
A comfortable lie is often preferred to an uncomfortable truth. Still, I believe that the latter should prevail, and I cannot remain silent.
That's quixotism at its best. Your mere truth cannot defeat institutions, systems, and power. Etiquette, religion, marriage, they're all lies told to preserve connections, love, and sanity, and it's all corruptible.
Lies destroy human dignity. How could you make a free decision without any knowledge of the truth?
Are we really free to decide anything in this world, Sherlock?
I am not entirely
I
free.
take your point. There are some limits on us all, some compromises we must make. Despite my best efforts, we cannot remain entirely objective.
I didn't want to sadden you, Sherlock, only to make you think beyond your boundaries. You're a walking contradiction, Sherlock. You refuse to lie to others, but constantly lie to yourself. How long until the train comes off the track? I cannot look away, but perhaps I should take a few steps back. You're an accident waiting to happen, dear. Until then, I shall bid you adieu.
Okay. Oswald's findings, splintered memory. Another fragment of my past has bubbled to the surface. I remember blooming trees shimmering in the pond and a cozy gazebo. It seems that we have a large garden behind our manor, accessible through a door on the ground floor that is bordered by 2 windows. Time to get back to where is Stonewood Manor? Here, Stonewood Manor.
Sherry, please listen to me. Sherry,
John, I always listen to you.
you don't have to do this. You don't have to go through. I don't know what is beyond this door, but I can feel it. Buzzing, angry, like a fly at the window.
I know. I can sense it too.
You locked away this memory for a reason. There is only pain here.
Pain. And truth.
You do not need to suffer either. There is so much more we can do on Cordona, so many others we can help. There is no coming back from this.
I will. Okay, this is the point of no return. Like, this will lead to the ending. I'll return
I find
later.
myself awash in uncertainty. Perhaps now is not the time, with so much left to do.
Thank you, Sherlock. Thank you. Some doors can remain closed.
Cordona still calls for us, yes. And we will answer. But know this, John. One way or another, we will find ourselves back in front of this door, unable to avoid the truth any longer.
Okay. So I guess will make a save before starting it. Sacrificial lamb. I should inform the constable of my findings. He probably has something to share with me as well. Okay. Let's make one last save. I know the video has been long enough, but it's nearing the end. Or should I leave it for another day? Okay, let's leave the last portion for another day. So that's it for this video. I will see you again in the next video. Bye bye.